Hello, markeedragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life. And today I got a great viewer question. And it's from Naudromer Hesselink. I'm sure I mispronounced your name, but I'm trying. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe before I get to the question, because if you subscribe, you have a chance of winning Frostmourne here. So, and the sword is very sharp. I've got, well, I got to be very careful while holding it. This is the one that I cut the carpet in my office with on accident. Anyway, if you're a subscriber, you have a chance to win. And the full details, the first prize is given out when we hit 20,000 subscribers. So, subscribe. Okay, so he asks, Marcus, what did I do way back when to start the whole company, fan site, websites and stuff? He just wants to know where I started. And I actually get this question quite a bit. I've talked about it a few times before in different ways, and I'm always happy to talk about it again. So I got started back in 1997 with the game Ultima Online. Actually, maybe I got started back even earlier than that. Let's go back even further. I used to do BBSs, and that was in the early 90s. But that was like pre-internet stuff. And then I had a computer store in about 95 or so, and it was a retail computer store. We built a lot of computers, we fixed a lot of computers and stuff, and we were on the internet with our price lists. And so that's actually where I got my first start of being on the internet. Then in, I don't know, I guess it was 95 or 96, I had been a big fan of the Ultima series of games. I had been playing since mid-80s, I think. And back on an amber screen monitor, an ELD XT, one of the first home computers. Actually, they weren't so home computer back then because they cost like $10,000 brand new. So, but my parents had one for their business. And I used to go in and play when I was a kid. I was a teenager. So I heard this game called Ultima Online was coming out, and I, being a big fan of Ultima, I of course was all over that. My friend Dennis, he pre-ordered, and actually he didn't just pre-order, he paid to be in the beta. And so, in fact, I've still got that disc somewhere around here. He gave it to me because he knows how big of a fan I was. So that was my first glimpse of what online massive multiplayer games could look like. And that's where I got my interest, because my wife at the time, she said, you know, you spend an awful lot of time in this game. It's too bad you don't make money at it. She wasn't being mean or nothing. She was just commenting on how much time that I actually was spending in the game, because I just loved the game. And so I thought to myself, can I make money at this? And I looked on eBay and stuff, and I said, oh, look at that. I found an auction for Ultima Online on there. And somebody was selling a sword or something like that, and they were asking like 20 bucks. And I'm like, I think I can do this. So I actually got my start in the business portion of it, selling stuff on eBay. eBay does not allow the sales of virtual goods anymore. They allow Second Life stuff, but that market is really an internal market and not very external. So, just made a power up. Imagine that. So, anyway, that's actually my text message alarm. Yes, I'm a geek. Yeah. So, anyway, I grew a fan site out of that stuff too, because we started collecting all these people together, and we're like, hey, you know, we need to be able to communicate and stuff. And I remember we used I didn't know how to do HTML or anything like that, and so I bought a WYSIWYG editor, which WYSIWYG stands for What You See Is What You Get, and it was front page 97, and it was a piece of crap. But I figured out how to use it, and it had these forums function in it, or actually like they called it more of a message, a public message system. And so with this public message system, I was able to create something that looks like forums today, except that ours got so popular that we're having like 1,000 posts a day on this front page thing, and we were breaking the front page extensions probably 4 times a day. So I had to give some other volunteers access to the web server so they could do a reinstall of the front page extensions every time they came in and saw it wasn't working. And it was quite nuts, quite nuts. So it was, that was kind of the birth of the fan site stuff and everything. And I started out on eBay selling. And then when eBay announced that they were no longer going to support these kind of sales, I was already selling game codes with Shattered Crystal. And so it just worked out kind of nicely that the market on eBay dried up, but I already had a foothold into the new market, you know, which is just the open internet. And so I ended up pioneering a few things. Really, though, you know, it was a team effort. The brokers that we worked with in Ultima Online, I think there was about 8 of us, and we worked together to provide safe buying and selling of Ultima Online items. And some of them branched out into other games. I branched out into mini games, and they were kind of at the core of figuring all this out, figuring out that the #1 issue with sales is figuring out the fraud, because these markets are so fraudulent. You know, it's like at Shattered Crystal, we don't say that we'll take every customer. In fact, we don't. We turn away a certain amount of customers. And when people complain that they've been turned away, I'm like, dude, it's like a club. And, you know, there's some people that just don't get in. And so, you know, consider it, you know, having your fine suit on and everything. And when you come up to the door of Shattered Crystal, if you don't have that fine suit on that says, I'm legit, or that we can, you know, do a little bit of work and figure out that you really own the payment method used, you get shown the door. And it's unfortunate that it has to work that way, but that is one of the things of success of this stuff, is that you must be willing to turn down business. And that was really hard for me. In fact, let me tell you a story. We had this customer at the computer store that she brought in her computer, she wanted it upgraded. And so we put some new stuff in it. When we opened up the computer, we found a hard drive lying in the bottom of her computer, not plugged into anything. We're surprised it didn't bang around in there and break something or short something out. My God, it was just sitting in the bottom of the computer. And anyway, so we redo her computer for her, we upgrade it for her, and then we sent it back out to her. And it was working and everything. But before we sent it back out to her, let me not forget this part. We called her and said, hey, what's with this hard drive in the bottom of the computer? And she says, oh, well, it was acting a little flaky, and so we unplugged it. Okay. Well, we had plugged it in, and it tested out okay. You know, it looked like it was doing just fine. So we said, it's looking like it's doing just fine. Would you like us to plug it in for you? And so she says, sure, why not? You know, it's an extra hard drive. We give it back to him. A week later, she brings it back in, and she says, the upgrade has failed. And we're like, okay, well, we'll take a look at it. You know, back in those days, a 5% failure of parts was very common. And so, you know, electronics today, it's a lot less than 5% that fail, but that's what it was back then. So anyway, we find out that it's the hard drive. And so the hard drive was bad. It passed all of our tests when we tested it, but it was bad. And so anyway, we call up and say, well, the hard drive is bad, so we're going to disconnect it and we'll give it back to you. Well, she wanted it fixed under warranty. And I'm like, well, the fix is under warranty. The fix is to unplug it. It's not our product. We didn't sell it to her. So anyway, she ended up that we refunded her the money and gave her all of her old parts back. And because she was such a pain in the ass. And she kept at us for a couple of weeks that it was our responsibility to fix her broken hard drive. And we're like, no, it was your hard drive. We're not going to fix that, you know? So anyway, she decided, and so we gave her a full refund, and we gave her all of her old parts back. And she didn't want to pay any labor. She wanted us to put her computer back together for free. We objected because we already had, like, I don't know how many hours into this, and probably 10 hours into her computer, and we charged $50 an hour. And for the upgrade, we only charged a couple of hours to do that. But she persisted, and finally we're like, we can't take this anymore. So anyway, she said, I'm going to picket you. I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm going to picket you. I'm going to come out here with all my friends, and we're going to carry signs around saying what a horrible business you are. Well, I'm like, okay, fine, do it. I really was kind of scared of that. I didn't know what to think of it. I talked to a buddy of mine named Tim, and he says, oh, you want to know how to take care of picketers? You put your own picketers out there, and they carry signs saying how great the place is. Tim was really brilliant. He always had these out-of-the-box ideas, and it was just really awesome. So that's what we did. We got all the staff together, we made up signs and everything, and we said, when she shows up, we show up. And so when she showed up to picket, it was just her and one other person. And so I'm like, we got this, no problem. Some of my staff takes their signs out there. The instant they come out with signs saying how good the company is, she takes off. It's just a funny story. You know, most customers who you turn down don't end up in something like that. But you need to be able to turn down the ones that cost you a lot of money. You're in business. And so it's not, you're in business to make money, not to lose money. And so you need to be willing to turn those people away. Anyway, that's kind of how I got my start and what I think is important. And I think that you know, you can take that stuff to heart and do it with your own business. So I'm Marcus Eichenberry. Take care. Oh, and don't forget the sword. Subscribe, and it can be yours.
You should subscribe to his channel because he's going to give away the sword.
So tell me, if you won this sword, what would you do with it?
Oh my goodness, I would be in seventh heaven to begin with. Then I think I would pick a place in my house that was probably where everyone would see it and hang it on the wall.
Wow, this is how much you love the game?
I love it. I love it more than any other game.
Do you know what game we're talking about?
Well, I can pretend, can I?
Okay, so everybody subscribe.
Just look at this. Yes, subscribe.
Yep.
And you may be the winner of this beautiful sword. Check it out.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay.